Johnny Baseball.
And welcome back to another episode of Untitled Chapter.
On today's episode, we'll be talking about the San Francisco Fathers. Alright, I don't really have much to say about the Padres. They're obviously terrible, but even if you're a Padres fan, I mean, how can you get upset about it? They live in a beautiful city, they play in a beautiful ballpark, the sun is shining, the homeless people have really great tans. Sometimes you just gotta accept the good things that you have in your life and move on. Live and let live. The Padres were a particularly tough team to find sleepers on because this is what their starting rotation looks like. You know your starting rotation is bad when you have to sign Jeff Weaver for $3 million. You know, I don't know what it is. I just seem to be drawn to these teams that have very non-threatening names. We did the White Sox, we did the Brewers, we did the Metropolitans, which I don't think I had addressed, but a metropolitan is just someone who lives in a city. I mean, this person is a metropolitan. And now we have the Padres, who are just religious monks. Alright, so let's just hop right into it. First up is Manuel Margot. I know you guys probably have 21 questions about Manuel Margot as a player, but just know that if you draft him, he's going to take your investment straight to the bank, in the club. Andy Shap. Alright, I'm done. So, Margot has a lot of things going for him. In addition to his uncanny resemblance to 50 Cent, he's consistently posted above average strikeout percentages in the minors and was a big prospect with the Red Sox before he got traded in the Kimbrel deal. Baseball America actually pegged him as a future 5-tool player. I think the hit tool and the run tool are both there. The other good thing about this guy is he doesn't have a huge amount of competition in the Padres outfield. I think the only real threat to his job are Jankowski and Alex Dickerson. So the job's definitely his. And at pick 2 to 88, and in a world where steals are very rare, I think there's a lot of good potential for upside here. Over full 600 at-bats, I could see him giving you 275, 335, 400, throwing in 7 home runs and 30 stolen bases. So next up is Ryan Schimpf. I'm not a tremendous fan of Schimpf, but then again, I don't really eat seafood. No, but seriously, it is pretty hard to turn down a guy who has second and third base eligibility and could potentially hit you over 35 home runs. And he's currently being undrafted, so obviously if you're desperate for power at the end of your draft, this is definitely a guy I would be looking into. The 31.8% K rate he posted last year is a little fishy. And 4.9% of his batted balls were hit in the air, which is kind of unheard of. But when you pair those fly balls with the 39.7% hard hit rate, which is really good, it definitely goes to help explain the crazy power numbers he posted last year. Fly balls actually result in the lowest BABIP of the 3 potential batted ball outcomes, and I definitely don't expect him to post a 64.9% again next year, especially if he stops being so shellfish about hitting home runs. So I think that the fact that he's not going to hit as many fly balls could result in a slight uptick in his average. I'm not going to give him too much there because of the K rate, but hitting less fly balls definitely helps. I wouldn't necessarily draft this guy as my starter, but I think if you get a little creative and you don't mind putting some work in, you can platoon Schimpf with one of the more high average guys that are going cheap in drafts right now. And you can kind of create a Frankenstein second baseman where you platoon Schimpf against righties, and then anytime he faces a lefty, you put in this high average guy, and you kind of get an amalgam of the two. He hit 157 versus lefties last year. If you're straight up starting him every game, I would predict him to hit about 220, give you 340 OBP and 500 slug, and give you 30 home runs over the course of a full year. But if you do decide to put in the extra effort and platoon him with somebody like a Howie Kendrick or Cesar Hernandez at second base, I think there's potential to have something like a 250 average with a 340 OBP, 20 home runs, and 10 to 20 steals. So this is definitely a guy to look at as a potential platoon mate. Alright, last up is Travis Jankowski. Oh, we got a Joe Schmo alert. Jankowski has a last name that kind of sounds like an elaborate sneeze. Jankowski! But honestly, if it's going to drive down his draft price this far, I'm pretty cool with it. So Jankowski stole 30 bases last year in only 383 at-bats, which is pretty impressive. And like I mentioned with Margot, it's always good to be on the lookout for some cheap guys with big steals upside because of the lack of steals in the game right now. In the minors, Jankowski stole as many as 71 bases in one season. So between that and what he did last year, there's definitely some big upside here. Some people see this guy as a steals-only player who's going to drag down your average, but he did post really good K rates in the minors, so I'm not entirely convinced that his bad K rate from last year is totally legit. And even with the bad K rate last year, he hit 275 versus righties, so even if the K rate is an issue again, I think you can use his platoon advantage, kind of mitigate any damage he might do to your batting average. And on top of that, the fact that he has such a high walk rate and gets on base so much kind of shields your investment in that you know he's going to be on base, so his steals opportunities are going to stay high. I think over a full year, you're going to get a 250, 340, 340 triple slash out of him. And I think you could get maybe 5 home runs and 35 steals.
That's pretty nice.
So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in again, and I'll see you guys next time.